right.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of The Myth of Money. Today, we have Dean Masley with us, all the way from the Netherlands. Dean is former executive chairman of the Blockchain Education Network, the largest college-based education network for blockchain, and is a very talented software engineer. And he is here with me today to talk about hardware wallets. Dean, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. It's nighttime here, but it's good that we got the time zones worked out. So I'm excited to do this.
Awesome. I'd love to hear more a little bit about the Blockchain Education Network before we get started.
Yeah, sure. So I'll take you back to 2013. That's when I was getting into blockchain. Myself personally, I was just doing mostly stuff in graphic design, like logos for people. That got me really excited, so I tried starting a club in my own school to get other kids my age to get into Bitcoin and things like this. I received so much pushback from my school administration. They thought I was trying to run like a drug ring, so I had to submit like all these papers to convince them how I'm gonna stop illicit activity because they were only hearing it in the news, from like drug transactions and all that jazz. So we ended up finding a bunch of other kids who were in some similar positions. Initially, it was just like a Facebook messaging group app. We met a few kids at some conferences, and one thing led to another. This group of kids trying to share information of, hey, I'm doing this at my club, or hey, I need a constitution to submit to my person. Oh, we have one made. That informal resource sharing eventually developed into the College Cryptocurrency Network, which is what it was originally called. That was founded by Jeremy Gardner and Daniel Bloch. And so those guys went across the world spreading the good word. And then a year later, we had an organization set up across the world. And so then I took over. Due to the changes in crypto at the time, we rebranded to the Blockchain Education Network. And that's where it is today. So now it's an international organization. It's across the world. You have chapters all over. And if you're a student, you can reach out. It's blockchainedu.org. And they're doing a great job. They're hosting events, I think, all during the fall semester right now. They're doing airdrops and educational events. So if you want to get kids into cryptocurrency on your college campus, there's kids across the world who want to help you do it better.
That's awesome. That sounds great. So when you are educating kids for the first time about Bitcoin, I'm sure one of the things you have to cover is how to actually safely store your crypto. So what are the options out there for kids? I have my first Bitcoin or some Ethereum. What do I do? Where do I put it? What are my options?
Right. But yeah, so that's actually a good conversation because there's different types of wallets based on the level of security you want to bring to the game. So the basic differentiation is what they call a hot or a cold wallet. And that heat indicator is basically if it's connected to the internet or not. So think of a hot wallet as like maybe the mobile app on your phone that you would use just to send money back and forth. That would be more like a wallet you would carry around with you around the city. You have some cash in it, but it's not your bank account. You don't want to carry all your money in this thing. So that's where the cold wallet comes in. And so basically, you can generate a wallet offline. We'll get into that later. And you can basically store your Bitcoin in a wallet that has never touched the internet, which seems ironic at first because it's a digital currency. And the safest way to store it is to do it offline.
But you have to connect it to the internet to get the crypto on it, right?
No, actually. So that's actually an interesting way how Bitcoin wallets work. So in essence, when you're making a public and private key pair, you're just generating a random number that has always existed. But the thing is with Bitcoin numbers, or I'm simplifying things here, but the numbers are so large, there's like more numbers than atoms in the universe or whatever there's an analogy to it. And so the chances of someone else generating the exact same number is basically impossible. So when you can generate a cryptocurrency or a Bitcoin address just by knowing what the algorithm is. So you can download a generator. You can even just download a website called bitaddress.org, and you can just download the website. It has all the JavaScript and everything in there. And you can do it on an offline computer that's never touched the internet, and it can generate a wallet. And you'll get a public key, which you can send money to. And that's valid because even though it's never touched the internet, it's a valid number. And you can send money to this number that's never touched the internet, but you found the magic number that associates the password behind it. So
that sounds really complicated.
So, but it's really simple in practice.
So there are a lot of terms being thrown around when we talk about wallets. There's your address, there's your key, and there's your seed phrase. So what's the difference between all of those?
Yeah, I usually like to break this down. It's just like email or Twitter or anything else. Public key is your username. You send it to everyone that you want to talk to. They can send messages to you. But if you want to send a message from your email, so if you want to write a message out, you have to know the password. So it's unlike a credit card, whereas a credit card, if you give it out, they can both read it and spend from it, right? But a user account with an email or a Twitter, you need the password to send from it, but you send your public one around everywhere. And it's just like Bitcoin. The public address is the one you send to everybody, and the private address is what you use to send from it. So you give the public one out to everyone, and you keep the private to yourself. And so you mentioned the seed.
So the public address is my username, and then the private key is my password.
It's just your password, yep.
Okay, and then you were going to talk about the seed phrase. Yeah,
and so the seed is usually an easy or a mnemonic password, meaning it's basically a private key that you have. It's a bunch of words lined up, so it's easy to remember. Because trying to remember, exclamation point 6K9U is ridiculous. So usually, what you'll see when you make a Bitcoin wallet is it will give you like 12 or 24 random words, and that's actually extremely secure, and it's really hard to guess that many random words together. And so you can write that in a notebook. Which is what they usually recommend you do. You don't want to type that in your phone or take a screenshot, because then it's there. So you'll take those numbers and you'll write them on a piece of paper. And then if your phone dies or if something happens to your computer, you can go to any other computer and restart your wallet using those same 12 or 24 words. So I hope that makes
Got it. So do you mostly recommend for the folks that you teach about Bitcoin for the first time to use a hard wallet or a hot wallet?
No. So I mean, like, the way I think about it is that, like, if I'm trying to introduce someone to something, I'll just have them get an app, because they're likely not going to hold too much money, and it's just to get them used to, like, oh, there's this digital currency, instead of trying to have some abstract concept about blockchains or consensus. Let me just give you $10. And then once you see the thing come up on your screen, you go, whoa, holy crap, what just happened? Then you have a question where I can actually give you answers that are relevant and not just like a word jumble. So then where the hard wallets come in is, let's say you're like, okay, this is cool. I want to start actually using this and maybe dive into the concept of what the guy's pitching about, right? It's not just some stunt. The idea is it's like an alternative economy trying to be built. How do you build an alternate economy that works across the entire world? And that means you have to have a way to secure large amounts of money and have some kind of security, knowing like, okay, I don't have to worry about this all the time, because there's a phrase in Bitcoin where you say, be your own bank. And that's both a liberating statement, but it's also a lot of responsibility, because there's no one to bail you out. So the hardware wallet is kind of the bank, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like the phrase, not your keys, not your Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I was just teaching my parents about Bitcoin since I've been home, and I'm trying to make them understand that, like, there's no one to call for help. Like, you are your own custodian of your money, and that is a blessing and a curse, right? It's a blessing because say there's fraud within the bank and the bank crashes, you can't take your money out. This way you still have your money, but you really have to be like hyper self-reliant. You have to make sure you store your keys, you store your password,
you lose all your money.
Right. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword.
And this is something I think I also mentioned, just to get this in real quick. I think I also mentioned this to you as well, because one part of the wallet creation process people don't realize is that if you're trying to hold these passwords somewhere safe, it's not only making sure you're not doing it online or not letting something slip. It's also remembering where that thing is 3 months or 6 months or 2 years later. And that is actually like something that can be very tricky, especially if you're a young person and you move around a little bit. Like sometimes I'll be like, after a few months, I'll be like, wait, where did I put my backup specifically? Because everyone has their own system for hiding things. And so just wanted to get that in there as well.
Yeah, for sure. So do you recommend writing it down on paper and putting it in a safety deposit box, or what would you recommend?
I think the safety deposit box is probably the best option. We can talk about multi-sig later, but I mean, I don't think a lot of young people, though, have a safety deposit box. So also I think there's other techniques, like maybe you have a certain book that you like and you can hide a piece of paper into it, or you write in the margins. You can get pretty creative with it as long as you have a method where like this is my method. I'm going to check it every few months to make sure I don't forget. And yeah.
There are two
So yeah,
things
right on a
that
piece of
kept,
paper.
yeah. Yeah, so there are two things that kept coming up when I was looking up hardware wallets, and that was open source and multisig. Could you touch on those? Like, what do those mean?
You say open source?
And multisig.
Cool, yeah. Okay, so open source just means all the code that's on that device is available for you to look at. So normally, most of the software that we use every day, we don't actually know the code behind what we're using. So the thing is with all these wallets or these hardware wallets that is managing money where you have no customer service, you have to be pretty positive there's not some secret backdoor in it. Now, it's not likely that you or even me is going to be able to read this code and find out if there's anything shady inside of it. But the fact that it is open means that people who are more into this space and do that kind of investigation can go through and double check things. And the way that these people confirm that the software is the same on the device, there's techniques to make sure that, like, okay, I'm reading this code and I can do like a hash comparison to make, or like a SHA at the. Anyways, you compare like the fingerprints of the app and with the code source to make sure this is what's running on this device. There's no backdoors. This smart guy and this smart guy and this smart guy says so. They've looked through it. They have their reputation at stake. So open source is this kind of process that lets you gain reputation and trust that this thing is doing what it says it's doing.
Got it. Got it. And I'd love it if you could explain multisig in a way that a first timer could understand.
Okay. Yeah, so think of, I think a few people have maybe heard of the stories of how nuclear bombs work, right? You have one soldier on one side with a key, and then you have another soldier on the other side, and they both have to turn the key at the same time for this thing to go off. And the reason being is you don't want one person with a key to this nuke, right? You don't want one bad decision. So a multi-sig wall is kind of the same concept. You have the typical setup is 2 out of 3. So you'll have 3 keys available, and 2 of the 3 keys are able to send, to unlock the wallet and make transactions out of that. So what's really cool about this is it's almost like a way for a bunch of people, whether it's a group of friends or maybe you're some colleagues and you're working on a small app together. And if you want to share a pot of money, but not have the worries of like, okay, he'll take care of the money, but if it's something like Bitcoin, he could run off with the money, right? Or her. And so you want to make sure you have a way for all of you to have this pot of money where people can send to. So you give one address out and anyone can send money into it. And then to send money out, you have to agree to at least 2 of 3 people, or whatever combination you want. You can have 3 of 5, you can have 2 of 10, whatever you would like to have. So it's almost like a very foundation for creating an organization or some kind of project where a group of people share a wallet. But the most common application is security. So let's say you have a bunch of money and you don't want to be responsible yourself for your savings. So you'll have maybe one store with your mom, one store with your brother, one store with your sister, people that you trust, so that if whatever happens, and let's say you even lose your private key, you can still reach out to your family and friends and go, hey, bail me out, turn the keys, I need to get this out. So there's a few options. You can do it all yourself, or you can do this method of trusting other people so that even you, if you get like robbed, someone can't tell you to send the money out because like, hey, you need to also rob my brother at the same time, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know if you've heard, there's been some stories coming out actually in some of the more tumultuous countries of people like actually being kidnapped and held at gunpoint to get like people's crypto. Right.
But then one thing though, and sometimes though in those situations, there's no technical solution because there's a really good XKCD meme. Maybe I can send it to you and you can have an overlay. But like there's this kind of crypto utopia of like them being with some interrogator and they're like, what's on the laptop? And he's like, you'll never get you'll never get it. It's encrypted by SHA-256. And the other researcher's like, oh, that's going to take billions of years to crack. And then there's the reality of the situation, which is I have this $5 wrench. Want me to hit him with it until he gives me the password? So, if you get ransomed or whatever, like there's only so much a technology can do. But
yeah, for sure. It's tricky. So when I decided to write the story, I reached out to some people on Twitter just for some feedback, and people started recommending different hardware wallets. And before I knew it, I had a dozen of them arrive in a bunch of packages to my house. So
Yeah,
I wanted to show you some of them. Maybe you're familiar with some of them, and I'd love to just see your reaction and your opinion on some of these kind of neat technologies that I think I'm surprised how many types of wallets are out there.
I'm also curious to see other things in the market now.
Well, so let's start it off easy. Let's go with the classic. So the classic is the ledger, right? So we've all seen the ledger. So I got 2 ledgers in the mail, and this is what they look like up close. You can close them up really neatly.
You got a Nano and an X?
Yeah, so this is a Nano and an X and an S. I think they're both called Nano.
Right, they're both Nano. S and Nano.
Okay, this one's not.
Oh, you're gonna have to plug it into a device to.
Well, the
X has to be plugged
clearly. In. This one doesn't need to be plugged in. So this is what it looks like when it's turned on.
Cool. And that's the S, right?
This is the X.
Yeah.
The X is the more expensive.
Okay, got it.
The smaller one is $59, and the bigger one is $119. Have you used these before?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm surprised the smaller one is not. Yeah, that's very doable. They used to be about $100 just to get one. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the bigger one actually is Bluetooth compatible, which is kind of cool. And it can store, so the smaller one stores up to 20 coins or 20 types of coins, I guess. And the bigger one stores up to 100.
Yeah, and what's really cool with the Ledger products is they have a really nice manager suite on both like all mobile phones and your desktop apps, and it has a really nice UX software to plug into. And what's cool is that makes it easy for you to then have like the easy interface for a nice good website and stuff, but it doesn't interact unless you plug that device into your computer. But all the management and everything is done with the app. So you'll see like options of like which coins you want to add, and they'll have other options based on the coins you have. You can set up also secret wallets, I think. So, we can go into that.
One of the things I found shocking with a lot of these hardware wallets as I was unpacking them is they required a computer plugin with a USB key. And I have one of the newer Macs from the last year that only has a USB-C. And so I can plug most of these wallets into my computer, which is kind of crazy.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
You need one of those next to me?
An adapter or something.
Adapters, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. That's like an unforeseen problem.
Yeah, I mean, the rate at which companies change plugs, I find is a little too much. Yeah. So
hopefully USB-C can save it.
Hopefully. So this is another one that's a classic, which I'm sure you've seen.
That's the new Trezor.
Yeah, so this is the Trezor Model T. I tried to plug it in so we can see it on.
Oh, wow, cool. I have the older model without. Oh, that looks fancy.
Is that fancy?
I have the older one. I have one with a much less fancy screen.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to unplug this for a second just to bring it closer to the camera. So this is what the Model T looks like.
And I also see a tamper-proof seal on it. Did that come with it as well?
Yeah, I broke it.
That's good though. So that's good to know how it comes, so that if people get this device to check to make sure that it has it on there.
Is it okay if I still send it to you for Christmas, even though I broke the seal?
See, everyone who doesn't know the joke, don't fall for that. Actually, that's maybe a good way of bringing it up, because that's actually a really common scam that was used with hardware wallets.
Really?
So the thing is because the trick is with a hardware wallet is that if it's tampered with before you get it, and you're not going to check the source code, which no one's, or not the source code, but like if your code matches what's on the device from what's on the site, then basically someone can have a pre-loaded seed on your device. So it wasn't even like a fancy hack. They would just basically create a wallet. They would keep track of the password, and they would send you the device being like, here's your ledger. And people who were new to Bic, or not Ledger, also Trezor, any hardware wallet, and they're like, if you don't know what Bitcoin is, you don't know you have to do this setup process in the first place. You just get this device. You're like, cool, I have my wallet. They start loading money onto it. Whereas unbeknownst to them, the person who gave it to them already wrote the password down before the scenes. So one thing to keep in mind is when you get these wallets, to make sure that it's not tampered with, the seals are all there, and that you make your own wallet. You will have to make your own backup with your own seed. If you don't see that, just double check before you put any money onto it.
Good to know. So this new thing is $169, which is kind of a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah, but it can store up to 600 coins.
Oh, okay.
Which is cool. Sorry, 1,600.
Cool.
1,600 coins.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so I think this is true of all Trezors. They're all open source, which is kind of cool if you're the kind of person who likes to break things apart and make your own devices. You can actually take all of these components out and make your own wallet, which is probably something you would do. I wouldn't, but you would.
Well, maybe. I doubt it. I don't trust myself enough for that stuff.
Yeah.
Bound to make a mistake.
Yeah. Cool. So the next one I have, I actually couldn't turn it on, but it looked really fancy. This is the Kobo vault.
Whoa, I haven't seen this. What is this? I've never seen this before.
It needs batteries, AAA batteries, which I didn't have, so I can't turn it on. But it has a camera.
Okay.
And it has a fingerprint sensor. This is really insane. And then this whole thing is a screen, a touch screen.
Right.
Which
Holy
is kind of
moly.
cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah, it's really fancy. It came in like velvet. Maybe this is the one I'll send to you for Christmas since I can't get it to work anyway.
Sure.
So this one's $149. It's actually a little bit cheaper than the Trezor, even though it has all this.
It has way more features. Interesting.
Yeah. It can do unlimited coins. It's completely open source like the Trezor. And it has a self-destruction mechanism. So if someone's tampering with it, I guess it knows and it self-combusts or deletes all the keys off of it.
You get the pin wrong so many times or whatever?
Probably.
Cool.
We have to put in the batteries to check it out.
The Trezor and the Ledger also have something like that, where if you put the pin in incorrectly too many times, it'll clear out. So what's interesting is seeing this. My first impression on seeing something like this is and how fancy everything is getting. It almost makes me feel it's both really cool to see the user-friendly experience get better, but it makes me a little bit nervous because I guess this would be much more useful on a day-to-day basis, whereas I would want to keep something like a Ledger stored at home and not use it too often. And I don't want too many buttons or too many features because that makes me assume that it's more likely for something to go wrong. So I'm curious to see how something like that would work out. Yeah.
So I see somebody maybe who runs a fund using this, because when you're running like a crypto hedge fund, sometimes you have millions of dollars of assets under management. You don't want to keep those online, but also it's really hard when you're constantly moving assets in and out of a hardware wallet, right? So if you had something that was easy to access and to hook up online, I feel like that would make your job easier. So maybe this is a possible solution to that. Yeah,
I mean the user experience is definitely nice. I'm sure it fits some kind of purpose. Again, I don't know the security of all these things. I almost feel bad if I say something silly and then some guy on the internet's like, "Don't you know these guys?" But it looks pretty cool, and I can imagine have a certain use case in terms of being like the camera on it looks awesome. You don't need any other device to send money around. That's great.
Yeah. So there's another one that I like. So I like this one, both for its price point and for its functionality. So this is called a Safe Pal. Pardon my fingerprints over this beautiful device. Also seems to have some sort of camera. Actually, Binance invested in this one. It's only $40.
Really? Oh,
pretty reasonable for what it looks like.
Yeah.
And it actually allows you to trade what we were just saying in and out of the wallet in a very seamless way. So it hooks up to Uniswap, which is cool.
Really?
And it hooks up to Binance, obviously because Binance invested in it.
Right. Okay.
It even has an integration with Compound, so you can go yield farming for your DeFi tokens. And it has like its own app that you download, and then you use the app. So you use the app with a wallet, and then it integrates seamlessly. And I guess when you're done trading, it just stores everything in your hardware. So that's kind of cool.
Man.
For 40 bucks.
Wallets have really evolved. Yeah, that's cool. How thick is it? Can you like fit that in a wallet?
No, I wouldn't
Maybe
fit it in a wallet, but I could
Just
definitely
like
fit it in my
the
purse.
iPhone.
It's
Okay,
half
it's like
the
an
size. It's half the size of my iPhone. Like
Okay.
with my palm, you can see it's.
I meant more like the thickness. It looks like one of the. I have Android, so I don't know which iPhone version, but
Oh yeah,
just like
it's probably the thickness of an iPhone, but it's very light. It's much lighter than an
Cool.
iPhone.
Oh, that's neat. That's neat. I wonder how they do the online stuff. If they connect to Uniswap and all that stuff, I'm curious how that works on a cold wallet. But I imagine, like right now, with the degen craze of all these people doing those farming and everything, having something a little more secure might be nice for that specific purpose.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I think
Wow.
it's connected online when you're trading in and out of it, and then probably once you're done trading, you disconnect it, and then it's offline. Cool. I have another one that's similar, but I don't really know what I think about it. So this one's called the Apollo. Pardon the glare. There's nothing much happening there. It's just kind of like, welcome to Apollo. Are you ready to continue your setup password? So it's, you know, your basic multi-sig. Yeah, it's like a touch screen, which is great. Like it's pretty big. I like the size. You can create a password of up to 127 keys, which seems kind of like overkill to me. Like, I don't know if I would create a password that long.
Yeah, I don't know how anyone's just like.
And it has a password manager built in.
That's cool.
Like for like Facebook and Google, like whatever else you use every day, like this could be your thing to keep all your passwords. But then you're like out with your device all the time, which I don't know that I like, because this is like where I would store my money.
It's cool of a feature, but it's like, I don't want my crypto and all my passwords in one basket.
Yeah. And it has like an authenticator. So this seems to me like a wallet that just like put in every single super secure feature it could think of.
What I'm noticing, I'm noticing from what you're showing me, it's almost like at least, I mean, the way I would almost feel about it, because I wouldn't feel comfortable with some of those devices with so many features for like a cold wallet, but they're definitely more secure than just like your phone. So it's interesting because like seeing so many of these devices come on the market, it's almost like an emerging middle, like warm wallets. Like maybe they are good enough to be cold. Again, I don't know their security miles and everything, but just like adding all these features into like cold wallets is pretty interesting to see people bring. Like even seeing a touchscreen on a cold wallet to me is crazy.
I like that you just called it a warm wallet. So
you gotta come up with terminology.
What's really shocking about this is it's $199.
Oh man.
Which like when you compare it to the SafePal, which I can trade like my Uniswap tokens on for $40, like it just kind of
honestly,
seems like
the price point on the 40 euros one is amazing. Like that's awesome. I really like seeing that trend of making more affordable wallets out there.
Yeah, for sure. Crypto in general just needs to be more accessible, like both from an ease of use, but also like affordability, right?
Yeah. And I think this topic you're on is the least user friendly part of the entire industry. So it's cool we're doing this.
Yeah. Like I've been in crypto for a few years, but I wouldn't say I'm super technical by any means. So I'm very happy that you're here having this conversation with me. And when I got all of these wallets to my house, I was just like, you know, as someone who's worked in consumer tech for years, like sometimes I wonder like what these companies, like what the thought process is, you know, because it's such a small market right now. And if we're going to grow this market and really onboard new users, we have to make things easier to use. We just do.
Yeah, 100%. I think also, and what I usually kind of mention a lot is, I think it's like with crypto, like all these tools are not as useful to people who have functioning bank accounts and have stable economic systems. But then I think these type of conversations have a much bigger impact. You know, if you do live in a country that has capital controls or high inflation rates, which maybe in some South American countries, Bitcoin is more stable than their currencies. And so in those cases, these hardware wallet discussions are actually much more tangible. It's like, oh, I need some way to escape or to exit or to have some kind of hedge. And then it does matter if you can secure it and not have it, so this industry and making this more user-friendly and less prone to errors is, I think, a really noble effort, because it's neat right now in the West. And if you get into crypto, it's good to have the security, but it is actually, if we're going to be making an alternative economy, we need people to be able to securely hold their money.
Yeah. So quick sidebar. A few months ago, I wrote an article about Bitcoin being a hedge against corrupt governments. And I had a software engineer like yourself from Ukraine reach out to me on Twitter, and we did an anonymous interview. He didn't want to be named. And he actually escaped Ukraine during the civil war a few years ago, when there was all of that fighting and Russia took Crimea and all of that drama happened. And so they had blockades set up between different regions of Ukraine, and you couldn't leave your region unless you had a special pass to go visit family, right? And even in that case, so you could drive, but you couldn't have anything on you. If you had a suitcase, that would be a red flag. And if you had money on you, the people at the checkpoints would just take it. If you had jewelry on you, you would just take it, right? It was such a corrupt time. And so he actually escaped, saying he was going to go see family in a different part, and then made it out. But he was able to take all of his money with him because he had converted all of it into Bitcoin. And just remembered the seed phrase in his head. And that was it. And then I think he ended up in the States eventually.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And
that's the story people always say. That's amazing. You actually know someone who pulled it off.
Yeah. And once he got to the States, he unlocked all of his money, and he didn't have to start from scratch like so many immigrants and refugees do. He actually had a nest egg. Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's, I think, a perfect example of where this, just that alone, being able to have your bank account by memorizing some words. Hope you have some good memory, but that's amazing. And I think also a bigger concept of what we have to realize is, we're so used to living in the West that we have access to bank accounts and things like that. But to realize, it's hard. You have to detach that and realize, if I want to send money to you, Tatiana, right now, I'm in Amsterdam right now. And what city are you in again right now? Toronto?
Yeah, let's say I'm in Toronto.
Okay, on there. I have to ask somebody else. I would use an app, but I have to ask some service, some company to do it for me. I have to say, okay, I have to go to the bank, I give you the money here, and then you have to tell this person here to do this, and then this. There's really no way for me to get currency to you other than asking someone else for permission. And so that's why it's so amazing that we're actually, this is what this is. We're building an alternate economic system for the internet, so that if you're on the internet, you now have access to money. And that means the whole 9 yards. You have access to, as a bank, you can access to online e-commerce, or even with the new DGen market, or I saw you writing your articles about DeFi and farming, even with loaning and interest and margin markets. And it's an entire alternate ecosystem being grown. And it's funny because you get to see almost people relearn lessons of economy and okay, now we're getting too abstract. But the idea that this is, we're actually successfully pulling off an internet money that's owned by nobody, and anyone who has access to this internet has access to the system. That's, I think, always something to keep in mind when it's because I always personally get really upset sometimes with the user experience and being it could be better, X, Y, Z. But it's also in terms of what's being built, you have your story with your friend there, and it shows there are downfalls, and there's also some really amazing things that have never been possible before. So
absolutely,
you can have a bank account in your brain.
So we have 4 more to go. Do you think we could pull through
Let's do it.
4 more? There's actually some really cool things. Things get more and more interesting as we go along. So the next one we have is called a SecUX.
Looks like with a Nest. The Google Home thing.
Like a bomb device. So it's covered in
yeah, try bringing that to the airport. No, sorry, it's a cryptocurrency wallet. Okay, you come over.
Wait, I'm going to turn it on so we can see. So it has a full touch screen. It has a 7-hour lithium battery.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, I'm just blown away by its form factor.
I'd be really scared to travel with this. They actually have a smaller version that's this. So This is the W20 and this is the V20.
Can you even fit that circle in your pocket?
And this one's cheaper.
Okay. Can you even fit that in your pocket, the circle one?
Yeah, this one's $99 and then this one's $129.
Okay. But like I'm even looking at the circle one and I'm like, can you even like fit that in your pocket? It seems so awkward.
Yeah.
The circle
and this
one
has a little Bluetooth sign in it, so it's Bluetooth compatible, which is cool. And it has a seal, which I know you really like.
I don't want my cold wallet to be Bluetooth compatible.
You don't? Why is that?
Well, again, like the reason I want a cold wallet is so it's not internet connected, and so once you want to try adding all these connectivities, it's like that's another way to get hacked.
Got it. Good point. Good point. What did I miss? We have, so this one's still in the box. This is called a bit box.
Oh, I think I've heard of this.
Vaguely,
yeah.
So
Okay.
this has a thing that plugs into your computer.
Mhm.
And this is USB-C compatible, which
Okay.
actually works for my
Cool.
Mac.
Nice.
One of the only ones here that works for my Mac. And then it has like a little memory card.
Okay. Yeah, an SD card. Yeah.
And a normal USB converter.
Adapter. Okay, cool. All right. So how does it work?
It works either with the Bitbox app or you can use like other third-party clients like Electrum.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so it's probably like Ledger then. You plug it in and then it does everything from there. But there's no screen on it or buttons or.
There's no screen, so you have to use your computer with it.
Is there any buttons on it?
No, this is literally just like a box.
Huh. Okay, interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, no touch screen.
Because the reason the Ledger has buttons is so that you can like physically confirm something. So even if it's plugged in, you have to physically confirm it. You can't just confirm it via a signal. Cool.
But it says invisible touch sensors.
Oh, so maybe there is touch confirmation things then. Okay. That makes more sense. Because like otherwise I'm worried if I plug that in and then I plug in my computer, what stops a virus from saying, yeah, send all the money, and then I have no way of knowing if that signal was sent or not.
Oh, you know what? I think it does have a little bit of a touchscreen. It's just covered by the plastic.
Oh, okay, cool, yeah.
But I think there's a little bit of a touchscreen here, and then you have those touch sensors.
Okay, nice. The reason I'm bringing that up, by the way, as well, is just like because you don't want, or I would want to have a physical confirmation if I confirm a transaction. Because let's say I plug it in and a hacker is like, send all the money out. I don't want that to be a digital confirmation because then that could, then that could be hacked. So I'd want it to like pop up on a screen being like, are you sure? That's what the Ledger does. So that's why I was curious if that had any buttons.
So this is $115.
Oh, too much.
Right.
Why? I don't understand why they make it that expensive. I don't get it.
Yeah. And has a little like portal here to put this little like memory card in it. But I like that it's small.
Yeah, no, the form factor is nice and the packaging looks really nice, but it's not worth 115 in my opinion.
So
I think the hardware wallet should aim for under 50. I think that's a good mark to hit. So I'm glad Ledger and what was it, Snapshift or no, the
SafePal. SafePal is the one that
kudos for the price point.
Yeah. So on that note, I have two other very affordable options that look completely different than anything we've seen.
Cool.
So the first one is called, actually we have three more. It's called the Sato chip.
Huh. Okay.
So this comes with like a card.
That's cool.
On it for me.
Yeah.
And it comes with a card reader, and the card reader has a USB that you plug into your computer. Again,
Cool.
it doesn't
Can
work.
you also tap it? I see a reader on the top. Can you tap it as well, or do you have to plug it in?
I'm not sure. Do you know how these work?
Huh. Because that looks like what I can tap as well. Cool. Yeah.
But they said, I messaged them and I was like, can you use these with just a regular card reader? And they said, yeah, as long as it's compatible with this type of chip,
Cool.
you actually don't need their card reader.
Oh, I like that. That's cool.
So this is cool because I can put this in my wallet and I can have my crypto on it.
Yeah, the accessibility is pretty cool. Ledger used to make a wallet that was NFC compatible. And that was really cool. It was super accessible, but it got like really tricky trying to read from it. So I'm glad they have a reader to use with this thing.
Yeah. And this was $25.
Oh, really? That's great. The whole thing?
Yeah. The whole thing.
And they mail you like a wallet that's already like built into the card? How does that part work?
Maybe they mail you an empty card. I think mine was custom made, obviously. But my package came with a card and with a chip reader.
Very cool. I like the price point. And that's very accessible. If you can just carry it in your wallet.
Yeah. If you like cards, there's another company that sent me a bunch of cards, and they're called Tangem. And I actually really, really like these. So they look like this.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What is this?
So this is the BTC card.
Huh.
And then this is an Ethereum card. And
I love it.
Bitcoin Cash card, XLM, and XRP. So they're only limited to each card is limited to the type of coin that it supports. So I can only put BTC on the BTC card. And
how do you on and off? Like, where's the?
So you have a mobile app that you hold over your card.
Oh, really? So you just tap it to your phone?
Yeah. So it has like a little chip on it.
NFC chip. Whoa, that's cool. That's like the old Ledger one. Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then you have an app. And so for me, who's like sometimes can be technically retarded, I actually really like the idea of this, that like my Bitcoin is on this, I have an app. I'm just wondering how secure it is, but it's definitely easy.
Yeah, that would make it, I would use that as like a warm wallet, like in between a cold and my phone.
Yeah.
So if I carried like $50 on my phone, then I'd carry like $200 on that as like a rough example of where I would feel comfortable with something like this. But that's great. Yeah. That looks really convenient.
Yeah. And as we're talking about emerging markets and kind of tumultuous governments where you want to have your own crypto, like this seems like an easier way to onboard people into the ecosystem.
And how much are those?
I think your messenger's going off. So these ones were $20 for the package. And the package came with like 6 cards, I believe.
Wow.
So super cheap, super easy.
I want one.
And then you get an app, and that's it.
All right, that's cool. Nice.
I think in my heart, this is the winner, and it has cute little birds on every single one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you like don't mix them up.
I
think my mom would like these.
Yeah, it'd be cool just to have something in your wallet that is a little bit more secure than just your phone, and then you can tap it whenever you need it. That's perfect.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we have one more, and this one, honestly, I was so confused when I received it. I think it's actually a really, really good wallet, but I feel like it's a little bit too much for me. So this is called the Cold Card.
Hold on a second. All right.
Okay, so this is called the Cold Card. Have you heard of this one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, by CoinKite, right?
Yeah, so CoinKite, they're an awesome company. They've been around since like 2010. They, like 2 miner engineers. This is super, super secure, but it's Bitcoin only. And this generates like your keys and your whatever you need.
Looks very cypherpunk.
It is very cypherpunk. And it comes with like a little memory card, which I put in here, kind of like the BitBox that I showed you.
Very cool.
So that's your storage. So this is the main wallet. And then they have 2 other products, which I thought were
the Open Dimes?
Yeah. So the next product that's also from CoinKite is the Open Dime.
Yeah. Oh, those things are so cool. Oh, I want some of those.
And I think these were like $20 for a pack of 3 or something like that.
You know what those things are? Why they're so cool?
No, tell me, Dean. Why are they so cool?
Because that's like cash. So those things, you can load money onto it. And then if you want to take money off, you have to physically tamper with it, right? There should be a place where it says like to break to use. Is that right?
Oh.
Can you investigate the, do you see anything on there? Is like you poke a hole through it? Where does that circle say?
Legal tender on the blockchain in some countries, question mark.
No, is there a hole where you can?
Yeah, there's a hole in here.
And then there's one. There should be a hole where you poke through to break it. Do you see that on it?
There's. Oh yeah, I do. There's a little hole. This is the hole.
Yeah, right there. So the cool thing about this is you can actually use it like paper cash, meaning the owner of the holder of it owns it. And the reason for that is that you can put money onto it, and you can give it to somebody, and they know for sure that you don't have the private key, because the only way to get the private key is to break it. I put, I think, a needle through the hole in that thing there. So I can put money onto it and give you that device so I can do an offline transaction. And then you don't have to be worried that I secretly have the password, and after you go away, I'm going to take the money out of it. So that's what makes that device so cool, is you can provably give away cryptocurrency physically, which is, I think that's why that product is so cool.
So how much would you put on an open dime?
Well, I think that has a different use case. I don't know if I would use that myself for cold storage. I mean, I think you totally could. I would personally maybe use it to give around as gifts, or maybe have like, I don't know, X amount on there that I would want to have on in case I want to give it to somebody.
Yeah,
that's
like
I think
$100 or something like that.
Yeah, but you could put money on that as like a piggy bank, because you can put money onto it, and then when you break it, you don't put money back onto it, because then the private key is available. So if you want to have a piggy bank where, like, you put the money in the jar and you have no access to it until you break it, that's exactly what that device is.
Cool. So you would recommend one of these?
Yeah, it definitely is a fun toy.
And then the same company sent me a third product, and it's called a cold plate. Have you ever heard of these?
Ooh, that is cool looking.
I was very confused, because I was like, is this parts of a spaceship? Am I supposed to put these things together? And then I looked it up, and apparently this is like a flood-proof, fire-proof way to store your seed phrase. So you put the first 4 letters. So on one side it has letters, and the side it has numbers. You put the first 4 letters, I guess, because and then it's divided into 4 cells for 1, 4 cells for 2, 4 cells for 3. So you put the first 4 letters of
oh my Lord,
up to 12 seed words in here using this tool, and then it's indestructible.
Oh God. That's cool. That's cool. Wow.
Well, would you use this?
No. It's way too much effort. But also, maybe I'm not. I don't know. Maybe the people with more money, I don't know. That seems crazy. But I mean, what I like about that is it's, and that's also like a paper wallet. It's so basic. And so actually, maybe that brings up a good point, because like I've been having skepticism for some of the devices you've been showing me because of how many features they have. And that makes me go, ooh, because it's like the more features you add, the more things can go wrong. It's like not many things can go wrong with, like that is about as basic as it's going to get. Nothing's going to communicate data out from that thing. So,
right.
Yeah,
but then, like, what if you lose that while you're moving?
Well, yeah, if you lose that, you lose it.
Yeah.
Well, not even lose it, but can you imagine if you have a significant amount of money and it's like 10 years later and you have this fucking metal thing and you have to be like, okay, I have to not screw this up. I mean, like, you can try as many times as you want to, so it's not like that big of a deal, but like, even sometimes when I'm typing my private keys, it's like, I really hope I don't. You can just imagine trying to read, okay, this cell, oh, it's an A. Okay, this one's a.
But it's also only the first 4 letters of every word, right? Of the 12 words. So it's actually not even the full words. You have to actually like guess the rest of the word.
Wow. Okay. Good luck. I'm sure it works out. I mean, the thing is, like, that seems like one of those things where it's like, I'm okay with it being a little difficult because I just want this to be the most solid it can be, and I don't want any surprises. Right. There you go.
So out of the 12 that we've covered today, which one would you choose?
I always recommend Ledger. I think they've been in the game. Ledger and Trezor have been in the game for the longest. So I can at least comfortably say they have the best. They have at least a long-standing reputation. Okay. So those guys I would recommend. And I'd probably even recommend the cheaper Was it the Ledger S, whatever the cheaper Ledger is, less
The
features.
Nano S.
S, yeah.
This is the
Yeah.
S. This is the S.
Right. The one you have to plug in I like better because I know when I unplug it, that thing's off. I like that personally.
That's good. Yeah, I think for me, I like these open dimes. That's like kind of cool.
I definitely want to pick up that and the bird cards. I think I would actually
the bird cards are cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say I think a lot of my like DeFi crazy friends would definitely pick up one of these to trade on DeFi.
Yeah, and I can't believe the price point. That's incredible. I just like to hear, because hearing all those companies where they're selling stuff for like what, some of them were like almost $200. Like, you're crazy. Like, I mean, I understand people are storing a lot of money, but like, there's not that many people that have that much money. So if you're only trying to go after whales, then how is this industry going to grow?
For sure, for sure. Cool. Well, this was really fruitful and entertaining.
This was so much fun, Tatiana. Thank you for inviting me for this.
Yeah, hopefully educational to our audience. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit subscribe and like the video. I'm going to link down the links to purchase all of the wallets below. And I'm also going to give Dean a shout out and link the Blockchain Education Network, if that's okay with you.
Love it.
Okay, cool. So I guess we'll see you guys next time.